Hi everyone, Az here from HeelvsBabyface. Now, profuse apologies for this. My allergies are going absolutely haywire today. Yes, I medicate, but it's not even touching it. I know it looks like I've been watching back-to-back rom-coms with a glass of wine and having a good cry. But no, I assure you it's just the allergies. But I'll try and get through this video as best I can. Now, approximately 2 months ago, just shy of a couple of months ago, I did a video where I announced that Diablo Immortal, according to Netease, several months ago, you can see here, 21st of February is when it was announced in an earnings call, stated that Diablo Immortal, from their perspective, was ready. And they were simply waiting for the Blizzard nod to coordinate when it's going to be released and all that kind of stuff. Now, that was back at the beginning of July, which would have meant that it was February, March, April, May, June. So 4.5 months at that time. Now, we have just hit the 6-month mark. And there is still no further word. So why this video? Well, there's been a little rumor going around, and I'm not using this to shame. I'm just using this as, for example purposes. Blizzard Watch here. Has Diablo Immortal been cancelled? I've seen it around the place on a few other areas. Has Diablo Immortal been cancelled, etc., etc. Now, I just want to stress from the get-go, I 99.9% do not believe that is the case. There's always, I leave that tiny little bit of wiggle room because you just never know. But no, I don't for one single solitary second believe that this project has been cancelled. Which leads us to a very interesting question, and that is, why hasn't Diablo Immortal been released? So, if we go through the English translation, there is a Mandarin translation which translates slightly differently. With regards to the launch of Diablo Immortal, we will announce a market launch date simultaneously with Blizzard. But on our side, development is already fully prepared and invested. I definitely believe there is no issue from the side of development with regards to a launch date. So that's the Mandarin translation that they gave to their shareholders. That's Netease. And this is the English translation, which is slightly different. Diablo Immortal, we are the co-developer on that game together with Blizzard. As to the exact launch timetable, I would encourage markets, I believe that to be the shareholder, to direct the question directly to Activision Blizzard, as from a co-developer's perspective, the game development is pretty much ready. So we've got fully prepared on the Mandarin statement and then pretty much ready on the English translation. Of course, there is always be space for us to optimize and enhance, but it is not any concern that the development side will cause any potential delay. So what they're saying is, it's ready. Now, Blizzard could come back to them with feedback and say, could you change this? Could you enhance that? Could we optimize this or that? But they are also saying, even if they did that, it won't cause any problems. It won't cause any delay. Yeah, we could tighten this up and we could tighten that up. And we know from experience that even huge AAA game developers push back titles, but sometimes they push them back because they want them to be perfect. Now, this is certainly not in relation to Diablo Immortal. We'll get to that in a second. But I want to use The Witcher 3 for an example. When they gave us the release date, it was February. But then they wanted that 3 extra months to make sure that it was absolutely tickety-boo to their standards, and they pushed it back to May. But when it came out, of course, wow, was it something special. Now, I am not comparing Diablo Immortal to The Witcher 3. But the interesting side is, if, for example, Blizzard came back with feedback and said, look, can you just tighten this or that? Let's just be very generous indeed and give them 2 months. Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Now, this was announced February 21st. So when exactly was the game ready? beginning of February, middle of January. It seems that the confidence in which they announced that, it was ready, probably a little bit before. We have just finished. It's ready. It's fully developed. We're just waiting on Blizzard. So it looks like they've been tapping their fingers, tapping their feet. So let's say, for argument's sake, middle of January, right? Let's say it's about a month before. Give them a couple of months on top of that. Middle of February, middle of March. And then let's add some VAT on top. Let's say the end of March, Blizzard have come back with whatever requests that they've had and they've tightened things up. We still then have April, May, June, July, and now at the end of August. So even in that, in itself, 5 months would have passed. But since the announcement, we're now at 6 months, half a year. Now, what not confuses me, but what kind of raises a question mark is Blizzard don't like to leave money on the table. We've seen that. We've seen that with Battle for Azeroth. That is a perfect example. What they have done in Battle for Azeroth is clearly, from a financial perspective, say, hey, look, we have lost X amount of subscribers comparative to Legion, comparative to how the game has performed over time. We need to make this money back. And therefore, they have released, mount after mount after mount after 6 month offer, 6 month offers, 5 separate mounts during this period of time. And it only just turned a year old a few days ago. But this was all done after approximately 10-ish months. So Blizzard don't like to leave money on the table. They want to have that money compensated in some way, shape or form. Now, they obviously can't control how much is spent on race transfers, faction changes, server transfers, all that kind of stuff. That's probably, complete and utterly out of the control. But they would have a decent idea of what the through rate is when they release a store mount, for argument's sake. And we know that Blizzard themselves have stressed that I'm being eyeballed by my cat. Blizzard themselves have stressed, it's really disconcerting, that 2019 was not going to be a great year compared at least to 2018. Again, for a regular company, amazing. But this is Blizzard Entertainment where they've got to show constant growth for the shareholders, and 2019 was not going to bring that constant growth in. And now that we've had a couple of earnings calls, another one since the previous video, they keep saying, oh, we're performing better than expected. But when you do a comparison of this year's results versus last year's results, they're down hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's money that they need to try and claw back. And that's just the Blizzard Entertainment side. You take in the Activision side, and things are starting to, not when I say not look good, it's not a pretty picture for the shareholder. How has the share price behaved? Well, since BlizzCon and it came crumbling down, it's really sort of fluctuated between the kind of $42 to $48, $49 mark for several months. Sometimes it goes up and sometimes it goes down, but there's been no significant push over the $50 mark. Certainly no considerable push back up to where it was pre-BlizzCon, which was up in the 80s. I think $84 odd or so it peaked at. And so why, if this game is ready, have they decided not to push it out the door yet? So let's just jump again. The cancellation question. Blizzard tend to cancel games when it's not working out. If you've listened to Mike Morhaime when he recently spoke about it, and you've heard other developers speak about it, games get cancelled really because they're not coming together. Although Blizzard claim, and I say claim, that Diablo Immortal is a mobile game that's being built from the ground up, The examples that we've seen from Netease clearly demonstrate that this is a carbon copy of the stuff they've released beforehand, and a carbon copy right down to the animations. Never mind the structure and the layout of the movement, because apparently that is like the optimum way for somebody to hold a mobile device and play on screen. Forget that. The actual animations itself seem to be a carbon copy on a built from the ground up game. So it doesn't appear that the actual construction of Diablo Immortal would, from Netease's perspective, be particularly difficult, shall we say. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. So it's not a game that isn't coming together. It's a game which seems to be coming together far more easily than they're trying to make out. So I don't, like I said, completely dismissed that it's in any shape, way or form been cancelled. So, because the market isn't really moving, but they're still leaving money on the table, are they going to push Diablo Immortal into the 15-year anniversary celebrations? They know that this game, from the Western perspective, hasn't got a great reputation, but they don't care. I promise you, they don't care. They don't care that here in the West, we have been, real pissy about this because people have wanted to see the evolution. They've wanted to see the Diablo 4. The bulk of their customer base, particularly the ones that turn up at BlizzCon, these people are PC-based customers. They spend a lot of money on rigs, a lot of money on peripherals and monitors, etc., etc. They're not interested in playing the next version here. Maybe, sure, when they're traveling or going to work or commuting, whatever. But when it comes to the next generation, they are wanting it PC-based. And so instead of expecting Diablo 4, of course, we get Diablo Immortal. Don't care. Because Alan Adam, as we've gone through in the past, clearly demonstrated this was a game for China. This was an audience that they were trying to attract. This is an audience that they're desperate to pander to. And again, because they have Netease as their liaise to China, because you have to have a Chinese company to go through if you want to do business in China. That's the way that they do things. The way that they have constructed Diablo Immortal to be a carbon copy of a action RPG for that marketplace, which will make it very familiar to a Chinese audience and therefore make it potentially more attractive because it's a game that they can immediately pick up, play and get into, and a country which has already been programmed, let's just call it how it is, in microtransactions, because that is how it's always been for them. It's only the West that's resisting. So even if they were to coddle it in with the 15-year Blizzard World of Warcraft, at least, anniversary, would that lessen the blow? Hope that people in the West here would be more distracted with festivities going on with the World of Warcraft, that they could slide out at BlizzCon. Hi everybody, BlizzCon 2019, having a disastrous BlizzCon 2018. We have the new World of Warcraft expansion into the Shadowlands, whatever it's going to be. I got dragons. We have Diablo 4, but at least I can almost guarantee a Diablo 4 teaser of some variety. I do think it's still a ways off, but I could almost guarantee a Diablo 4 teaser of some sort. Get the people interested. Potential tease of Overwatch 2. Potentially a new IP, although I wouldn't put any bank on that, to be perfectly honest with you. And then stick it alongside that. But it still leaves the question open as to why is Blizzard leaving money on the table? If they're not particularly bothered about the West, Alan Adam made that very adamant that this was for China. Why not just release it? Get it out there. This is really kind of confusing now. For a company that has demonstrated how they are willing to step over their audience to try and get to that buck. Why are they leaving money on the table? Now, obviously, there's going to be a bunch of us. I know I'm going on for a little bit here. I'll wind it up now. There's going to be there's going to be a bunch of people that are just going to go, don't care, ain't going to play it. No, I get that. But from my perspective, as somebody who does videos on this, for somebody who discusses these points, has conversations with you guys, I have a morbid fascination because I want to see exactly how Diablo Immortal does compare to other Netease offerings. I want to see if this feels like it's been constructed differently than their other offerings, or it is the carbon copy that it looks like. I want to see the monetization that's gone into this game. I want to see how they're going to try and claw that dollar from you. So my fascination is a morbid fascination. I don't intend to play it. Mobile gaming is not my thing, and I've got no interest in it whatsoever. And I've got certainly no interest in Diablo Immortal, and I've got no interest in the way that Blizzard conducted affairs in BlizzCon 2018. They showed exactly, again, who they were, their true colours. But why are they leaving this money on the table? I'm willing to, listen to anybody's thoughts on that one. But to me, it seems a little bit confusing. Considering who the true marketplace is, I would have thought this would have gone out June time. If it was ready in February, cross those T's, dot those I's, out May, June time, and then they could have started, getting that money pumped in. And who gives a toss about the West reaction, because it's not for us anyway. But there you go. So 6 months at least, only 6 months since the announcement, so 6 months at least, until Netease is saying Diablo Immortal is wrapped up. And there is no word, not a single peep out of Blizzard. Very, very weird. So I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do get a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links are in the description box down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.